I met her on the elevator, and shortly thereafter we started, talking, and then this relationship formed, but in the midst of that, I still had that deal on the table of a 3 flat, and I was telling her, look, I might, I told her, I was like, I might be going to jail, and I really don't know how she took it. She was like, oh, like she seemed to be indifferent about it. Now that I have daughters, I'm thinking, you better run, like you better turn around and run, because nothing good is coming out of that. But I got a new deal, and I got house arrest and for a year and 3 years probation.
Instead of the 3 years.
Instead of the 3 years in jail.
All right, my cousin Vinny did a good job. That's a good
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
So now, what is house? What's house arrest?
That's where you wear the monitor on your ankle.
Okay, but what is the other? I know about the ankle deal, but what is what's the restrictions about house arrest?
I could go. I had to give them my times for work. So what time I left in the morning, what time I was coming back home. So they already had that program so that when I went out, the thing didn't go off. Other than that, I wasn't allowed to go any place without prior permission. So if I wanted to get a haircut, I would have to contact my house arrest officer and say, hey, I want to get a haircut such and such time, and it's probably going to be about this long. And then I guess they would put it in the system so that it wouldn't go off the monitoring thing. Or go food shopping or whatever you had to do, you had to get permission prior. There was no just getting up and going.
And how tight was the time constriction? So like in your example, you just said you have to go get a haircut. You said they need to know how long it's going to be. Let's say you need to get a haircut and you tell them it's going to be 2 hours. But let's say that something crazy happens and it takes 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I never had that actually happen, so I don't know. I had a pretty cool officer, and once I was dealing with her for about a year, so into it, we got a little more comfortable. I wasn't trying to gank the system or anything. I was working. I was clean, so I was working, and just doing what I had to do.
You still with Anna at this point while you're on house arrest?
I'm with Anna, yes. Anna moves in with me, actually, while I'm on house arrest.
Where were you living?
I was living in Collingswood.
Okay, so Anna's living with you now?
So now she's living with me. I'm on house arrest. We're working, and she's pregnant with my oldest daughter.
Okay.
And so what happened was, I got this new deal. She moved in with me, and I'm just in the beginning of being clean. I'm like 4 months clean. And I'm not driving. I'm taking the bus down to the transportation center in Camden and then catching the bus, or taking the train and then catching the bus up to Gloucester to where my job was at. I was a floor layer. But what was happening was I was hanging at the transportation center too much in between, letting a bus go by, hanging out, talking to old people, and I end up using. I go with somebody, it just gets the best of me, and I go and I get high. And that's a Friday, and I come home, and she can tell. She can tell that I'm high, and I deny it. I deny it all weekend. No. And then I come clean on, I think Sunday. Or maybe Monday after work, I come clean. She already knew, but I come clean, and I tell her. And she tells me if I ever use again, she's going to leave. And she's pregnant with my daughter. Mm-hmm. And this is October of, I've been clean for 15 years now. So it's 15 years ago.
Nice.
My daughters have never seen my addiction.
So was that the last time that time?
That was the last time. That was the last time I ever used. So it's been, October made 15 years. I've been clean and sober. No alcohol, no drugs, no cigarettes. I used to smoke as well. Nothing.
How much cigarettes did you smoke?
Probably about a pack a day, pack and a half a day.
A pack and a half a day, really?
Yeah.
Wow. How long have you been tobacco free or smoke free?
Same time. I quit everything at once.
How did you do it? You just did? You just did cold turkey, or did you go?
Yeah, I just did it. I think in the beginning I kind of weaned myself off. I wasn't using that much, so I didn't go through a horrible withdrawal from the heroin. Although I had been through some horrible ones, but at that stage I was just kind of, getting high here and there at the very end. So I didn't have to go through any terrible withdrawal. And then, like I said, I was clean for that 4 months, and I used that one time. And luckily, just by chance, it didn't start the fire again. And it might have had something to do with Anna just threatening to leave. She was pregnant with my daughter. It was just that combination of things at that time. And I decided I just decided I didn't want to use anymore.
All right, that's awesome. And as we're winding down, I do want to ask you, I'm pretty sure somebody's wondering the same thing. Have you ever went back to that church or seen anyone from that church?
I have run into a few people here and there. And, said hi, how you doing? And good to see you. And that was about the extent of it. Yeah.
Okay. You kept it moving.
Yeah. Okay,
cool. Well, I guess, let's see. What can we listen, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is John Fontanez. This is the first of 8 episodes that we're doing exclusively together. And for those of you that were listening earlier, he will be going on to create his own podcast. And when you create your own podcast, John, tell him what it is. What's the vision for the podcast?
The vision is to constantly, share my story and talk about fatherhood, the challenges of being a divorced father, and also to inspire that your past doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a bad father. Now, because had I went to court, like if we would have ended up in court and Anna would have been still angry. I'm just speculating. And she says, I was an addict and alcoholic, and throughout our marriage, I suffered from depression, and I wasn't really there as a father. And the truth is, I'm a better father now. That's the truth, because I wasn't a great father while I was married. I was in my own crap. Anyway, lay all that out. I don't look like I'm going to be a good father. So what happens? I'm put on a court stipulated visiting thing. See how I do. A trial run to see if I can be a dad. But really, I'm a better father now. And I think the divorce and having the kids on my own was the catalyst for that. It put me in that position to be a better dad. And that's what I became.
I know you have a great love and joy for your kids. But when you just was talking about when you kicked the habit for good that time, 15 years ago, that was when your daughter was also, not born yet. But yeah. Your girlfriend at the time, Anna, was pregnant.
Yes.
Do you think you would have kicked the habit at that same point as easily as you did if it was just you and Anna together and there was no baby involved?
I don't know, because when I think about when I stopped initially before I used again in that 4 month time, Initially it was a culmination of things. I had met Anna and I was headed back to jail. It was those two things that were in combination that kind of started me along the road of like, I need to stop using. I didn't want to go back to jail at 28, and then I had met Anna. And then she got pregnant shortly thereafter, obviously, because 4 months into it, I said she was pregnant and I used. But it was a culmination of initially meeting Anna and having a deal on the table where I was going back to jail.
Okay, last 2 questions.
Yes.
One is, what makes a great father a great father?
To me, it's time. It's all about the time you spend with your kids. Time to me is of the utmost importance. It doesn't have to be anything big. Tickle on your kid on the couch. It's time. I don't work overtime because that takes time away from my kid. And as a carpenter, everybody works. As a carpenter, you work overtime. You got side jobs. You're bringing money in. To me, that takes away from my kids. So that's it. And that's where this comes from. Because when you're on that's where this this desire to talk about this comes from, because when you're on those visitation restrictions, your time is limited. And, so time is big for me.
Okay. Here's the last question, John.
Okay.
Last one. There's a 99.9999% chance that someone that's listening to this is a bad father. Unfortunately.
Yeah. We're
going to be back 2 weeks from now. And I know how it is. I always think of podcasts like there's, when the news, in the morning they say, oh, there's a terrible thing that just happened. And then it cuts to the next scene and it says, we'll be back at 6:00 this evening. And then you got to wait all day, right? You got to wait all day to get that very important information, that life-changing information they told you about in the morning. There's a bad father out there that's a bad father right now. And he's going to follow these next 7 episodes we do after this. They're going to follow you on your podcast when you create it. They're going to listen to you once every 2 weeks or once a month, however often you create an episode. But in this moment right here, what is some simple, basic advice, one or many, that a bad father that's listening to this right now can do to become a great father? Or a better father?
For me, it's dialogue with your children. I didn't want to be a father that ruled over my children. I wanted to be a father that was open to have dialogue. If my kids do something wrong, and I'm not saying I don't blow up sometimes. I'm not saying that. I'm not the perfect father. I'm just a better father. I want to talk it out. I got yelled at growing up. No one talked. I got yelled at and I got beat. They were the two things. Yelled at, beat. Sometimes in combination. I talk to my kids. I try to get them to open up. Tell me what's going on. Let's talk about it. Let's get through it. And when I mess up, I talk to them about it. When I blow up, I go back to them and I say, look, I acted horribly. And my daughters will always say, no, it's okay, Daddy. And I say, no, it's not okay. So dialogue with your kids, talking to your kids. That goes a long, long way. Some people say you're not supposed to be friends with your kids. You're supposed to be the parent. And that's a philosophy too, and that works for some people. I'm not saying I want to be best friends with my kids, but I want my kids, when something happens in their own lives, they can come and talk to me, because we've already had this dialogue as they were growing up. They know that I'm here to talk, and they know that I admit when I'm wrong. When I mess up, I admit it. I don't think it makes me weak as a parent. I think it makes me stronger as a parent, because I go to them and say, I did wrong there. I could have done this.
Man, this is so good. It's so funny because the quote that you just said, I think you need to, whoever didn't write that down, they need to. I have a great memory. But you said, you're not the perfect father, but you're a better father. Not a perfect father, you're a better father. And I think that so many fathers could be better fathers if they understood and they were okay with not being a perfect father. That was my take home. That was my tweetable moment. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another Billionaire Brown experience. We are here with John Fontanez on that side, and I'm Billionaire Brown on this side. I'm still fired up, and I'm still ready to go. Till next time, continue to be.
Thank you very much.
Bad credit affects where you live, what you drive, and even your current or next job. With so many frustrating issues that happen in life, we can help you find relief. Text 480-358-7725 today. Not only will we fix your credit, but we will educate you so you can educate your family. Now back to your favorite podcast.